Show more 0904, Claude responded. You touch my daughter, you deal with all of us. You touch my daughter, you deal with all of us. Marcus Hale's voice cracked through the phone line like a whip as he stood in the hospital corridor, staring at his unconscious daughter through the window. Blood still matted her blonde hair, her face swollen, bruised, unrecognizable. Before we dive into this story of revenge, family, and redemption, hit that subscribe button right now. Stay with me until the very end because this story takes turns you won't see coming. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's get into it. The call came at 2:47 a.m. Marcus Hale was 3 beers deep into forgetting when his phone lit up the darkness of his garage. He'd been sitting there for hours surrounded by motorcycle parts and the ghosts of decisions he'd spent 15 years trying to outrun. The number on the screen was local. Mercy General Hospital. Mr. Hale, the voice was female, professional, scared. This is Nurse Patterson from Mercy General. Your daughter Lily was brought in about 20 minutes ago. You need to come now. The beer bottle slipped from his hand, shattering on concrete. What happened? Sir, please just come. She's in bad shape. Marcus was on his bike before his brain caught up to his body. The 15-minute ride to the hospital took 8. He didn't remember most of it, just the wind screaming past his ears and the way his heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to break free. The emergency room doors slid open, and Marcus stormed through them like a man possessed. A young nurse at the desk looked up, took one look at his face, and pointed down the hallway without asking questions. Dr. Reeves met him outside room 347. The doctor was in his 50s, gray at the temples, with tired eyes that had seen too much. Mr. Hale, I'm Dr. Reeves. Your daughter is stable, but what? Marcus grabbed the man's coat. Where is she? Mr. Hale, you needed to prepare yourself. The injuries are extensive. Whoever did this, they meant to send a message. Marcus shoved past him. The moment he saw Lily through the window, something inside him shattered and reformed into something colder, sharper, deadlier. She was barely recognizable. Both eyes swollen shut, lips split and purple, a breathing tube down her throat. Machines beeped and hissed around her like mechanical vultures. Her left arm was in a cast. Bandages covered most of her torso. Jesus Christ. The words came out like a prayer and a curse all at once. Dr. Reeves appeared beside him. 3 broken ribs, fractured left radius, and ulna severe concussion. Possible internal bleeding, we're monitoring that. Facial contusions, lacerations. She was found in the alley behind Murphy's Diner around 1:30. A dishwasher heard something, went to investigate, found her unconscious. Did she say anything? Did she see who? She hasn't regained consciousness. The police are here. They want to talk to you. Marcus turned to see 2 officers approaching. The older one, Detective Morgan, he recognized. Small-town cops who knew everyone's business but couldn't stop shit like this from happening. Marcus, Morgan's tone was careful. We need to ask you some questions. Not now. It has to be now. Was Lily involved in anything, any trouble? Boyfriend's debts, drugs. Marcus whirled on him. My daughter works double shifts at a diner to pay for community college. She doesn't do drugs. She doesn't owe anyone anything. And if she had boyfriend problems, I'd know about it. Then why would someone do this to her? That's what you're supposed to figure out, isn't it? The younger cop, Officer Chen cleared his throat. Mr. Hale, we have to ask, does this have anything to do with your past with the club? There it was. The question he'd been waiting for, dreading for 15 years. I left that life behind when Lily was 4 years old. But your brothers didn't, Morgan said, and everyone in this town knows who you used to be. Maybe someone from your past. If someone from my past wanted to send a message, they'd come for me directly, not my daughter. But even as he said it, Marcus felt the cold certainty settling in his gut. This was about him, about the life he'd walked away from but never truly escaped. His phone buzzed, a text from a number he hadn't seen in years but would never forget. Tank, his old VP, his brother from the club. Just heard, coming up from charter. Be there in 4 hours. Hold tight, brother. Marcus's hands shook as he typed back alone. The response was immediate. Fuck that. You're family. She's family. We're coming. He looked through the window at Lily again. His baby girl, the only thing in his life he had ever done right. And now she was lying there broken because of him. I need a minute, he told the cops. Marcus, I said I need a fucking minute. Morgan and Chen exchanged glances, but backed off. Marcus entered his daughter's room, the antiseptic smell hitting him like a fist. He pulled a chair close to her bed and took her hand, the one that wasn't broken, carefully, like she might shatter further at his touch. I'm here, baby girl. Dad's here. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. The machines continued their rhythmic beeping. Lily didn't move. I'm going to find who did this. The words came out cold, flat, final. I'm going to find them, and I'm going to make them understand what it means to hurt you. He sat there for an hour watching her breathe before his phone rang again. Tank. We're rolling out now. Spike, Bear, Gunner, Taz, pretty much the whole charter. Word's spreading to the other chapters too. By tomorrow morning, you're going to have 300, maybe 400 brothers descending on your town. Tank, I don't care what you want. This is what we do. One of ours gets hurt, we handle it. You might have turned in your patch, but you're still our brother. That little girl's our niece, so get ready because we're coming and we're not leaving until whoever did this is bleeding in a ditch. The line went dead. Marcus closed his eyes. He'd spent 15 years building a quiet life, working as a mechanic, raising his daughter away from the violence and chaos of the club. 15 years of trying to be a better man than the one who'd worn the Hells Angels patch. And now that world was coming back, whether he wanted it or not. Dr. Reeves appeared in the doorway. Mr. Hale, there's something else. When the paramedics found Lily, she was holding something. We bagged it for evidence, but the police thought you should see it. He handed Marcus a clear evidence bag. Inside was a crumpled piece of paper with 4 words written in block letters. Stop digging. Final warning. Marcus's blood ran cold. What was she digging into, Bum? We were hoping you could tell us. But Marcus had no idea. As far as he knew, Lily's life was simple schoolwork, her small circle of friends. What could a 19-year-old waitress possibly be investigating that would get her beaten nearly to death? He thought back over the past few weeks searching for clues. Lily had seemed distracted lately, quieter than usual. He'd chalked it up to stress from school. But now, his phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo from an unknown number. Marcus opened it and his heart stopped. It was a picture of Lily from tonight before the attack. She was standing outside Murphy's diner talking to someone just outside the frame. The timestamp showed 12:43 a.m., less than an hour before she was found in the alley. A second text arrived. She should have listened. This is your fault, Hale, just like last time. Just like last time. Marcus's mind raced back 15 years to the night his wife Elena disappeared. She'd left no note, no explanation, just vanished in the middle of the night, leaving him alone with a 4-year-old daughter and 1,000 unanswered questions. He'd searched for months, called in every favor, used every club connection. Nothing. It was like she'd been erased from existence. And now someone was suggesting that disappearance was connected to what happened to Lily. Mr. Hale! Dr. Reeves was watching him with concern. Are you all right? Marcus wasn't all right. He wouldn't be all right until his daughter woke up and told him what the hell she'd gotten herself into. Detective Morgan reappeared. We pulled the security footage from Murphy's diner. You need to see this. They crowded around Morgan's laptop in the waiting room. The footage was grainy black and white, but clear enough. It showed Lily exiting the diner through the back door at 12:47 a.m. She looked around nervously, then walked toward the alley. 30 seconds later, a figure emerged from the shadows. Male, 6 feet tall, wearing a dark jacket and baseball cap, pulled low. He moved with purpose, cutting off Lily's escape route. The camera couldn't pick up audio, but Marcus could read his daughter's body language. Fear, confusion, defiance. She tried to move past the man. He grabbed her arm. She yanked away. And then Marcus had to look away as the man's fist connected with Lily's face. Once, twice, 3 times. She crumpled to the ground and the beating continued. Methodical, brutal, efficient. This wasn't random violence. This was punishment. The attack lasted less than 2 minutes. When it was over, the man stood over Lily's unconscious form, pulled out his phone, took a picture, and walked away. Casual as anything, like he'd just taken out the trash. We're running facial recognition, Chen said quietly. But with the cap and angle, I'm not optimistic. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Run it anyway, and I want copies of everything, the footage, the note, all of it. Mr. Hale, this is an active investigation. I don't give a shit. That's my daughter lying in there. Either you help me or you get out of my way. Morgan's jaw tightened, but he nodded. I'll send you what I can. But Marcus, listen to me, whatever you're planning, don't. Let us handle this. If you and your club buddies go on some vigilante rampage, my club buddies are coming whether I want them to or not. But they're not here to cause trouble. They're here to protect what's mine. That's what worries me. At 6:15 a.m., the sun was just beginning to creep over the horizon when Marcus heard the deep rumble of motorcycle engines. Not one or two, dozens. The sound grew louder, closer, until it seemed to shake the very walls of the hospital. Marcus walked to the window and looked out at the parking lot. They were arriving in formation, rows of bikers in leather cuts, their patches catching the early morning light. Hell's Angels from across 3 states converging on this small town like an invading army. Tank was the first through the hospital doors. 6'4", built like a tank, hence the name, with a gray beard down to his chest and arms covered in ink. He spotted Marcus and crossed the waiting room in 4 strides, pulling him into a bone-crushing hug. Brother, you didn't have to do this. Yeah, we did. Where is she? Marcus led Tank to Lily's room. The big man stood at the window, staring at the broken girl inside, and Marcus watched his friend's face transform from concern to cold fury. Who? Don't know yet. We'll find out. Already got Dizzy working his magic on the dark web, pulling camera feeds from every business within 2 miles of that diner. We'll have a face by noon, a name by sunset. Tank, I need you to promise me something. Whatever we find, whatever we do, it doesn't touch the town. These people, they're not part of this. Tank studied him for a long moment. You really have gone soft. I'm serious. Lily has to live here. I have to live here. I won't let this turn into a war zone. Fine, but whoever hurt that little girl, they're fair game. More bikers flooded the hospital throughout the morning. The staff was terrified at first. This many Hell's Angels in one place usually meant violence. But something strange happened. They were respectful, quiet. When an elderly woman struggled with the heavy entrance doors, 3 massive bikers rushed to help her. When a young mother's car wouldn't start in the parking lot, 5 of them spent an hour fixing it, refusing payment. Word spread through the hospital staff, these scary-looking men were here to protect, not destroy. By noon, the parking lot looked like a motorcycle rally. Local news vans had shown up, filming from a safe distance. The police chief called Mayor Williams, who called Morgan, demanding answers. Marcus ignored it all. He sat with Lily, holding her hand, waiting for her to wake up. At 2:17 p.m., Dizzy burst into the waiting room. 5'6", skinny as a rail, with laptop stickers covering his leather cut. Got him. Everyone crowded around as Dizzy pulled up footage on his laptop. Traffic camera 3 blocks from the diner caught him walking away after the attack. No hat this time. Ran facial recognition through some, let's call them unofficial databases. A photo appeared on screen. Male, mid-40s, with a scar running down his left cheek and cold, dead eyes. Name's Viktor Kozlov, Russian mob based out of Portland. Enforcer for hire. This bastard's resume includes 12 suspected homicides, countless beatings, and a specialty in sending messages. Marcus's blood ran cold. Why would the Russian mob be interested in his daughter? There's more, Dizzy continued. Kozlov flew into town 3 days ago, and guess who paid for his ticket? He pulled up bank records. Marcus didn't ask how. Shell company traced back to Mercer Enterprises. That name hit Marcus like a freight train. Donovan Mercer, an old enemy from his club days, a corrupt businessman who tried to force the Hell's Angels into trafficking drugs through their roots. Marcus had been the one to tell him to go to hell. The fallout had been brutal, 3 brothers dead, 2 in prison, and Marcus deciding to walk away from the life before it killed him or his family. Mercer, Marcus breathed. That son of a bitch. Who's Mercer? Tank asked. Someone I thought I'd buried in the past. Before Marcus could explain further, Dr. Reeves appeared, his face urgent. Mr. Hale, she's waking up. Marcus sprinted down the hallway, Tank right behind him. In room 347, Lily's eyelids were fluttering. The machines around her beeped faster. Her good hand moved weakly against the sheets. Lily. Marcus was at her side instantly. Baby girl, I'm here. Dad's here. Her eyes opened, barely, just slits through the swelling. Her lips moved, trying to form words around the breathing tube. A nurse rushed in to remove it, and Lily coughed, gasping for air. Dad, don't try to talk. You're safe now. You're going to be okay. But Lily was shaking her head, desperate. Mom, it was about Mom. The room went silent. What? Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. Lily, what are you talking about? Tears leaked from Lily's swollen eyes. I found her dad. I found Mom. The world tilted on its axis. Marcus felt Tank's hand on his shoulder, steadying him. That's impossible. Your mother's been gone for 15 years. She's alive. Each word seemed to cost Lily tremendous effort. Living in Portland, under a different name, I've been talking to her for 3 months. Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Elena was alive. All this time while he'd mourned her, while Lily had grown up without a mother, Elena had been alive in Portland. Why? The word came out strangled. Why would she leave us? Why wouldn't she come back? Lily's hand gripped his with surprising strength. She was scared, running from someone, she coughed, wincing in pain. From Mercer. He found out what she knew. She tried to warn me, to stop digging, but I couldn't. I needed to know why she left us. Everything clicked into place with horrible clarity. Elena hadn't abandoned them. She'd been running for her life. And now, 15 years later, her daughter had stumbled onto the same dangerous truth that had forced her into hiding. What did she know, Lily? What was she running from? But Lily's eyes were closing again, exhaustion winning out. She needs to tell you herself. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. She drifted back into unconsciousness, leaving Marcus with more questions than answers. Tank spoke first. So your dead wife is actually alive, hiding from Mercer, and your daughter got beaten half to death for finding her. Did I get that right? Marcus turned to face his old brother. His voice, when he spoke, was colder than Tank had ever heard it. Get everyone together, every brother who came up here. I want a meeting in 1 hour. What are we doing? We're going to Portland. We're going to find my wife. And we're going to end Donovan Mercer once and for all. Tank grinned into the expression predatory. Now that's the Marcus Hale I remember. Welcome back, brother. The parking lot had transformed into a war council. 347 bikers stood in formation, their leather cuts creating a sea of patches and colors. Marcus stood on the bed of a pickup truck, Tank beside him, staring out at faces he hadn't seen in over a decade. Most of you know me. Marcus's voice carried across the lot. Some of you remember when I wore the patch, when I was one of you. Still are one of us, someone shouted from the back. Marcus shook his head. I walked away from that life, built something different, tried to keep my daughter safe from all this. His voice cracked, but I failed. She's in there right now because someone wanted to punish me, because of choices I made 15 years ago. That ain't on you, brother, Tank called out. That's on the bastard who put his hands on her. A roar of agreement rippled through the crowd. Here's what we know, Marcus continued. The man who beat my daughter is Viktor Kozlov, Russian enforcer. He's working for Donovan Mercer. Some of you remember that name? Mercer's the reason 3 of our brothers are dead and 2 more are serving life sentences. He tried to turn us into his personal drug mules, and when we refused, he came after us with everything he had. The crowd stirred angry murmurs building like thunder. But there's more. My daughter was beaten because she found someone I thought was dead. Her mother, my wife Elena. Marcus paused, letting that sink in. Elena didn't die 15 years ago. She ran. Mercer was after her for something she knew, and she disappeared to protect me and Lily. Now Mercer knows my daughter found her, and he sent Kozlov to deliver a message. So what's the play? A biker named Gunner shouted. We ride to Portland. We find Elena. We get answers. And then we make Mercer understand what happens when you touch one of ours. The crowd erupted, fists pumping the air engines, revving in solidarity, but Marcus raised his hand for silence. Listen to me, all of you. This town, these people, they're innocent. My daughter has to come home to this place. So we do this clean. No collateral damage, no terrorizing civilians. Anyone who can't follow that rule, ride out now. Nobody moved. All right then, Marcus jumped down from the truck. We leave in 2 hours. Dizzy, I need everything you can find on Elena's location in Portland. Tank, organize the ride, stagger it, so we don't look like an invasion. And someone needs to stay here, watch over Lily. I'll stay. The voice came from the edge of the crowd. A woman stepped forward. Razor, one of the few female members of the club. She was in her 40s, tough as nails with scars that told stories she never shared. I've got medical training. I'll keep watch over your girl. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. She's family, Razor said simply. We protect family. As the crowd dispersed to prepare for the ride, Detective Morgan appeared, his face red with anger. What the hell do you think you're doing? Hale, you can't just roll 300 bikers into Portland on some vigilante mission. Watch me. I'll have every state trooper between here and Portland waiting for you. Marcus stepped close, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Then you better hope they're ready, because nothing you do is going to stop me from protecting what's mine. Now you can either help us or get out of the way, but make your choice fast. Morgan's jaw worked, but he stepped back. If this turns into a bloodbath, it won't. I give you my word. Your word doesn't mean shit anymore. Marcus turned away. Maybe Morgan was right. Maybe the man he'd tried to become over the past 15 years was a fantasy. And this, the violence, the brotherhood, the code was who he really was all along. Back in Lily's room, Razor had taken up position by the door. Marcus sat beside his daughter again, studying her battered face. I need to know why your mother left, he whispered. I need to know what was worth abandoning us for. Lily's eyes opened slightly. Her voice was hoarse, barely audible. She didn't want to. She loved us. But Mercer, Dad, she said if she stayed, we'd all die. What did she know that was worth killing over? She worked for him. Before you two met, she was his accountant. She saw things, learned things about his operation. When she tried to leave, he threatened her. Said he'd make her disappear if she ever talked. Lily coughed, pain flashing across her face. Then she met you, fell in love, thought maybe she could escape him. But he found out, told her if she didn't keep quiet, he'd kill you and me. Marcus's hands trembled. So she left to protect us. She's been running ever since. Different cities, different names, but she kept tabs on us. She has pictures, Dad. Pictures of me growing up, newspaper clippings about your garage, everything. She never stopped loving us. She just couldn't come back. Why not? Why couldn't she come to me 15 years ago? We could have handled Mercer together. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Because you would have tried to fight him, and she knew you'd lose. Mercer's too powerful, too connected. She thought if she disappeared, he'd leave us alone. And it worked. For 15 years, it worked. Until you found her. I didn't mean to. I was doing a genealogy project for school, ran some searches, and her face popped up in a Portland hospital employee directory. Different name, but I knew those eyes. I'd been staring at pictures of them my whole life. Lily's breath hitched. I contacted her. We talked on the phone. She begged me to stop, to forget I ever found her. But I couldn't. I needed to know why she left, so I kept digging. And Mercer's people were watching her. They saw us communicating. Sent Kozlov to warn me off. Lily's good hand gripped his. Dad, you can't go after her. That's what Mercer wants. He's been waiting for this, waiting for her to make contact so he can use us to draw her out. Then he's going to get what he wants, but not the way he expects. Dad, please. Rest now, baby girl. I'll handle this. Lily's eyes closed, but Marcus could see she wasn't sleeping, just too exhausted to argue anymore. Tank appeared in the doorway. We're ready. Dizzy traced Elena to an apartment in Northeast Portland. She works at a clinic under the name Sarah Mitchell. We've got eyes on the building now. Spike's already up there with a few brothers watching for Russian activity. Marcus stood kissing Lily's forehead. I'll be back soon. I promise. Be careful, Razor called after him. Mercer didn't get where he is by being stupid. This whole thing could be a setup. I know. That's why we're bringing 300 brothers as backup. The ride to Portland was both eternal and instantaneous. Marcus led the pack tank on his right, gunner on his left. Behind them, an endless line of motorcycles stretched down the highway engines, roaring like mechanical thunder. They rode through the late afternoon and into evening, the sun setting in shades of blood orange and purple. Dizzy's voice crackled through Marcus's helmet comm. Update Spike confirms Elena's at home. No unusual activity around the building, but he spotted 2 vehicles that might be surveillance black SUVs with tinted windows parked on opposite ends of the block. Mercer's watching her. That's what we're thinking. You want us to move on them? Not yet. Let's see how this plays out. They reached Portland just after 8 p.m. Marcus split the group. Most would hang back at a warehouse. Tank had connections to ready to move if needed. Only 20 bikers would come with him to Elena's apartment. Less intimidating, more manageable. The apartment building was old paint peeling in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Marcus's heart hammered as he climbed the stairs to the third floor, Tank and Gunner flanking him. The other brothers spread out watching exits and entrances. Apartment 3F. Marcus stared at the faded gold numbers, his hand hovering over the doorbell. 15 years of questions, of anger, of grief, all leading to this moment. He pressed the button. Footsteps inside, a pause, then a voice that sent ice through his veins because he thought he'd never hear it again. "Who is it?" "Elena, it's Marcus." Silence. Then the sound of locks turning, 3 of them. The door cracked open, stopped by a chain. A woman's face appeared in the gap, and Marcus forgot how to breathe. She looked older, tired, her dark hair shot through with gray. But those eyes, Lily's eyes, were exactly as he remembered. "Jesus Christ," Elena whispered. "You shouldn't be here. You need to leave, right now." "Not a chance. Open the door." "Marcus, please. If Mercer knows you're here." "He already knows. His enforcer beat our daughter half to death 3 nights ago. So I'm done running, done hiding. Open the goddamn door, Elena." Her face went white. The chain rattled as she fumbled with it, and then the door swung open. Elena stood there in sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt, tears streaming down her face. "Lily, oh God, is she?" "She's alive, barely. Now are you going to invite me in, or do we have this conversation in the hallway?" Elena stepped back. Marcus entered, gesturing for Tank and Gunner to wait outside. The apartment was small, sparse. A couch, a TV, a tiny kitchen. But the walls were covered with photographs of Lily. Dozens of them. Birthday parties Marcus didn't remember her attending, first days of school, graduation from high school last year. Elena had been there for all of it, somehow watching from the shadows. "How did you get these?" Elena wiped her eyes. "I hired a private investigator. Cost me every spare dollar I had, but I needed to see her grow up, even if I couldn't be there." Marcus turned on her, 15 years of pain exploding into rage. "You could have been there. You could have trusted me to protect you both, instead of running like a coward." "I wasn't being a coward," Elena shouted back. "I was trying to keep you alive. Mercer had a hit out on me, Marcus. He had cops on his payroll, judges, half the damn police force. If I'd stayed, if I'd told you everything, he would have killed you just to prove a point. So I left. I broke my own heart and yours and our daughters because it was the only way to save you. Bullshit, you didn't give me a choice. Because you would have made the wrong one. You would have tried to fight him, and you would have died, and Lily would have grown up without either of us." Elena's voice broke. "I made the choice I could live with, even if it meant living without you." Marcus's anger deflated, leaving only hollow exhaustion. "What did you know that was worth all this?" Elena sat on the couch, her hands shaking. "I was Mercer's accountant for 3 years before I met you. I saw everything, the money laundering, the shell companies, the offshore accounts. But that wasn't the worst of it. Mercer was trafficking more than drugs. He had connections to human trafficking rings. Marcus, women and children smuggled across borders, sold to the highest bidder. I kept records, copied everything. It was my insurance policy." "Where are the records now?" "Safe deposit box. Different bank, different state. I've kept them all these years because the moment Mercer thinks they're gone, the moment he thinks I'm not a threat anymore, he'll kill me just for knowing. Then we use them. We bring him down." Elena laughed bitterly. "With what? You think the police will help? Half of them are in his pocket. The FBI, he's got connections there too. I've tried Marcus. For 15 years, I've tried to find someone who could take him down. But he's untouchable. Then we make him touchable." Tank's voice came through Marcus's earpiece. "Boss, we got movement. Those SUVs are opening up. 4 men, each armed, heading for the building." Marcus's blood went cold. "How long?" "Yeah, 2 minutes, maybe less." He turned to Elena. "We need to leave, now. They've found me before, I'll run again." "No more running, you're coming with me." "Marcus, our daughter is in a hospital bed because of this bastard. I'm not letting him take anyone else I love. Now move." Elena grabbed a go bag from the closet. Clearly she'd been ready for this, and they rushed into the hallway. Tank and Gunner had their weapons out, faces grim. Backstairs, Tank said. Spike's bringing the bikes around. They thundered down the stairwell. Elena between Marcus and Tank. Behind them, the sound of the front door being kicked in echoed through the building. Shouts in Russian. Footsteps pounding up the main stairs. They burst out the back exit into an alley where Spike and 5 other brothers waited with bikes running. Marcus swung onto his motorcycle, pulling Elena on behind him. Hold on tight and don't let go for anything. Her arms wrapped around his waist, and for a moment, Marcus was transported back 15 years to when they'd ride together young and in love and thinking the world was theirs for the taking. Then bullets started flying. The Russians had found them. Muzzle flashes lit up the alley as Mercer's men opened fire from the back exit. The bikers returned fire, the deafening crack of gunshots mixing with engine roar. Go, 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 go! Tank screamed. Marcus gunned the throttle. His bike leaped forward, Elena's grip tightening around him. Behind them, the other bikes followed, laying down covering fire as they escaped the kill zone. They raced through Portland's streets, weaving through traffic, the Russians pursuing in their SUVs. Marcus's mind raced faster than his bike. This wasn't just a warning anymore. This was a full-on war. Turn left, Elena shouted in his ear. There's a construction site 2 blocks up. They won't be able to follow. Marcus trusted her, yanking the handlebars left. The bike tilted at a dangerous angle, but he held it. Sure enough, a construction site appeared, barriers and equipment blocking the road. Marcus didn't hesitate, driving straight through an open gate into a maze of scaffolding and concrete. The SUV screeched to a halt, unable to follow. The bikers disappeared into the night engines, fading to echoes. 5 blocks later, Marcus pulled into an abandoned parking garage where the rest of the club was waiting. He killed the engine, his hands shaking from adrenaline. Elena climbed off, her face pale. Everyone okay? Marcus called out. Gunner took a ricochet to the shoulder, Spike reported. But he'll live, nothing vital. Gunner grinned through the pain. Takes more than a Russian bullet to stop me. Tank appeared blood-splattered on his cut, but none of it his. We left 2 of them bleeding in that alley. The others ran, but this is bad, Marcus. Mercer just escalated hard. He's not playing games anymore. Good, neither are we. Marcus turned to Elena. Those records you mentioned, how fast can you get them? They're in Sacramento. I can be there and back in 8 hours. Then that's what we do. Tank get half the brothers to Sacramento with her. The rest of us head back to Mercy General. We protect Lily, get those records, and then we burn Mercer's entire empire to the ground. Elena touched his arm. Marcus, even with the records, this won't be easy. Mercer has killed for less. Then he's about to find out what happens when you threaten a Hells Angels family. Because I don't care how powerful he thinks he is, I'm going to destroy him. The conviction in his voice left no room for doubt. Elena studied his face, seeing the man she'd fallen in love with all those years ago, the man who would ride into hell itself for the people he cared about. I'm sorry, she whispered, for leaving, for all of it. Marcus wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to the hurt and betrayal. But looking at her now, seeing the weight of 15 years of fear and loneliness in her eyes, he couldn't. We'll deal with us later. Right now, we focus on keeping our daughter alive and ending Mercer. Everything else can wait. Elena nodded. Tank was already organizing the Sacramento run, pulling together a crew of 20 brothers to escort her. Marcus watched them prepare, his mind churning through strategies and contingencies. Dizzy approached, laptop open. Just got word from Razor. Lily's stable, but she's asking for you. Oh, also the hospital's getting nervous about all the bikers in the parking lot. Local news is camped outside, calling it a potential gang war. Let them call it whatever they want. We're not leaving until this is done. There's something else. Dizzy turned the screen toward Marcus. Remember how I said Mercer's operation was big? I kept digging. It's bigger than we thought. He's got connections to cartels in Mexico, trafficking your car routes through 6 states, and enough dirty officials on his payroll to start his own government. Taking him down isn't going to be like cutting off a snake's head. It's going to be like dismantling a hydra. Marcus stared at the web of connections Dizzy had mapped out. It was overwhelming, impossible. Any sane person would walk away. But Marcus had stopped being sane the moment he saw his daughter in that hospital bed. Then we dismantle it. One piece at a time. Tank clapped him on the shoulder. We're with you, brother, whatever it takes. Elena's group rode out 10 minutes later, disappearing into the night toward Sacramento. Marcus led the remaining bikers back toward Mercy General, the weight of what was coming pressing down on him like a physical force. They were 3 hours from the hospital when his phone rang. Razor's name flashed on the screen. "What's wrong?" Marcus Lily's asking for her mother. She's getting agitated, pulling at her IV. The doctors are worried she's going to hurt herself. "I told her Elena's safe, but she needs to hear it from you." "Put her on speaker." A moment later, Lily's weak voice came through. "Dad, I'm here, baby girl. Your mom's safe. I found her." "Is she really alive? I didn't dream it." "She's really alive, and she's been watching over you your whole life. She never stopped loving us, Lily. She was just trying to keep us safe." A sob came through the phone. "I was so scared I'd never see her again. That I'd die before." "You're not going to die, you hear me. You're going to get better, and you're going to see your mom, and we're going to be a family again. I promise you." "Be careful, Dad. Mercer, he's dangerous. Mom told me things, terrible things he's done." "I know, but he made a mistake when he touched you, and now he's going to pay for it." "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, baby girl, more than anything." The line went dead. Marcus gripped the phone so hard the screen cracked. Beside him, Tank rode in silence, understanding that some moments weren't meant for words. They reached the hospital at 2 a.m. The parking lot was still full of bikers, but the scene had changed. Someone had brought in food trucks, and the brothers were serving meals to hospital staff coming off their shifts. A group of them had organized a blood drive. Others were helping with maintenance work around the building. Marcus understood this strategy immediately. They were showing the town that they weren't here to cause trouble. They were here to protect one of their own, and anyone who needed help along the way would get it. It was Tank's idea, Marcus realized. His old VP had always been smarter than people gave him credit for. Lily was sleeping when Marcus entered her room. Razor sat by the door cleaning a knife. She looked up, nodded once. "Anything I should know about?" "Two suspicious vehicles circled the hospital 3 times in the last hour. We followed them to the edge of town. They didn't come back." "Good." Marcus settled into the chair beside Lily's bed, exhaustion finally catching up to him. He hadn't slept in over 30 hours and the adrenaline was wearing off, leaving only bone-deep tiredness. But he couldn't sleep. Not yet. Not until Elena returned with those records and they had what they needed to take Mercer down. His phone buzzed. A text from Tank, "Sacramento crew just arrived. Elena's accessing the safe deposit box now. ETA, back here 6 hours." 6 hours. Marcus could sleep for 6 hours. He closed his eyes, his hand resting on Lily's. He dreamed of fire and blood, of his daughter's screams and Elena's face as she walked away all those years ago. He dreamed of Mercer laughing untouchable while everything Marcus loved burned. He woke to someone shaking his shoulder. Tank's face filled his vision, grim and urgent. "We got a problem." Marcus was on his feet instantly. "What happened?" "Elena got the records, but when the Sacramento crew was heading back, they were ambushed on Highway 5. Major firefight. 5 brothers down, 3 critical. And Elena..." Marcus's heart stopped. "Where is she?" "We got her out. She's safe." "But the records?" "Marcus, Mercer's people got the records." Marcus felt the world tilt. "What do you mean they got the records?" Tank's jaw was tight. Mercer had 20 men waiting on Highway 5. Not Russians this time, professionals. Military-grade weapons, coordinated assault. They knew exactly when and where our crew would be. Someone tipped them off. "Where's Elena now?" "On her way back with what's left of the Sacramento crew." "But Marcus, 3 of our brothers are in critical. Mongo might not make it through the night." Marcus's fists clenched. Mongo was young, 24, with a wife and a baby daughter back in Oregon. He'd volunteered for the Sacramento run without hesitation because that's what brothers did. "Get everyone to the warehouse. Now, we need to regroup." "What about Lily?" "Razor stays with her, double the guard outside. If Mercer's playing this hard, he might try to hit the hospital next." Tank ate the thud and disappeared. Marcus looked down at his sleeping daughter, her face still swollen and bruised. He'd promised to protect her, and he'd failed. Now more brothers were bleeding because of choices he'd made 15 years ago. He kissed her forehead and left before she could wake and see the rage burning in his eyes. The warehouse was chaos when Marcus arrived. Brothers shouting, weapons being loaded, the air thick with fury and grief. Dizzy was on 3 laptops, simultaneously tracking police scanners and hospital reports. Gunnar sat on a crate, his shoulder bandaged, arguing with someone on the phone. "Where's Elena?" Marcus demanded. "Just pulled in." Tank pointed toward the back entrance. Elena stumbled through the door, supported by two bikers. Her clothes were torn and bloodstained. A cut above her eye was still bleeding. When she saw Marcus, she collapsed against him, her entire body shaking. "I'm sorry, God, Marcus. I'm so sorry. They came out of nowhere. Spike tried to protect the box, but there were too many of them. Her voice broke. "Spike didn't make it." Marcus felt the words like bullets. Spike had been with the club since the beginning, a brother in every sense that mattered. He'd stood up at Marcus's wedding. He'd been the first one to hold Lily when she was born. "How many did we lose total?" Tank's voice was hollow. "Spike, Mongo, and Crazy Eddie. 4 more critical at Sacramento General, and the bastards got away with the records." The warehouse fell silent. 15 years Marcus had been gone, but these men had still answered his call. They'd ridden hundreds of miles, risked everything, and now 3 of them were dead. "This is my fault," Marcus said quietly. "I brought this war to your doorstep." "Bullshit." Gunnar stood up, wincing. "We knew what we were signing up for. Spike knew. Mongo knew. They died protecting family, and there's no better reason to die." "Doesn't make them any less dead." Elena pulled away from him, wiping blood from her face. "There's something else. Something I didn't tell you." She took a shaky breath. "I made copies." Every head in the warehouse turned toward her. "What?" Marcus's voice was dangerous. "I made copies of all the records years ago. Digital copies encrypted, stored on servers across 3 continents. I never kept them in the safe deposit box that was a decoy. I knew if Mercer ever found out where they were, he'd come for them. So I let him think they were in Sacramento." Tank exploded. "You let our brothers die for a goddamn decoy. I didn't know he'd find out about the Sacramento run. I didn't know. You used us as bait." Marcus held up his hand. Everyone shut up. He stared at Elena, trying to process what she was saying. "You're telling me the real records are safe?" "Yes, and Mercer doesn't know. He thinks he won. He thinks I'm toothless now. Then we use that." Marcus's mind was already racing. "We let him think he's safe. We pull back, make it look like we're done. And then we hit him when he's not expecting it." "With what?" Dizzy asked. "Those records won't mean shit if we can't get them to someone who'll actually do something with them. Every cop, every Fed Mercer owns, will bury them. Then we don't go to the cops." Marcus turned to Tank. "You still have connections to that reporter, the one who broke the story about the drug cartels last year." Tank's eyes lit up. "Sarah Chen, yeah, she's based out of Seattle now. Won the Pulitzer for that cartel expose. She's not afraid of powerful people. Get her here. Tell her we've got the story of a lifetime." Elena shook her head. "Marcus, if we go public with this, Mercer will know I still have the records. He'll come after all of us. He's already coming after us. 3 of my brothers are dead, Elena. Our daughter is in the hospital. There's no going back now. We either finish this or we spend the rest of our lives running." The truth of it settled over the warehouse like ash. They'd crossed a line and the only way out was through. Marcus's phone rang. Razor's name flashed on the screen and his blood went cold. "Talk to me." "Marcus, get back here, now. Lily just crashed." Her heart stopped. "They're working on her," but Marcus didn't wait to hear the rest. He was on his bike and moving before anyone could stop him. The engine screamed as he pushed it past every limit, weaving through traffic running red lights. Tank and half a dozen brothers tried to keep up but fell behind. He burst through the hospital doors at a dead run. Razor met him outside Lily's room, her face grim. Through the window, Marcus could see doctors and nurses swarming around his daughter's bed. One of them had paddles in his hands. "Clear," Lily's body jerked. The monitor showed nothing. Flatline. Again clear. Another jolt. Still nothing. Marcus tried to go in, but Razor held him back. "You can't. Let them work. She's dying. My daughter is dying and I'm standing here doing nothing. You can't help her right now. Nobody can except them." The third shock sent Lily's body arcing off the bed. The monitor beeped once. Twice. A rhythm establishing itself. Dr. Reeves looked up, saw Marcus through the window, and gave the smallest nod. Marcus's legs gave out. He slid down the wall, head in his hands, his entire body shaking. Tank arrived moments later, taking in the scene immediately. She okay? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. Dr. Reeves emerged 20 minutes later, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. She's stable, for now, but Mr. Hale, we need to talk. They moved to a private consultation room. Dr. Reeves closed the door and sat down heavily. Your daughter's injuries were severe, but that's not what caused the cardiac arrest. We ran some additional tests after she crashed, and we found something in her bloodstream. Traces of a paralytic agent, specifically one used to simulate heart failure. Marcus's vision went red. Someone poisoned her. That's what it looks like. The amount was carefully calculated enough to stop her heart temporarily, but not enough to kill her outright. It was meant to look like a complication from her injuries. Who had access to her? That's the problem. Over the past 24 hours, dozens of people, nurses, doctors, orderlies, cleaning staff, visitors. We're reviewing security footage now, but Marcus was already moving. He found Razor in the hallway. Someone inside this hospital tried to kill my daughter. I need you to lock down this floor. Nobody gets in or out unless we clear them first. Razor's eyes went hard. Consider it done. How many brothers do you want? All of them. I don't care if it looks like a military occupation. Nobody touches my daughter again. Within the hour, the third floor of Mercy General had been transformed into a fortress. Bikers stood at every entrance, checking IDs, cross-referencing staff lists. Dizzy hacked the hospital's security system and was running facial recognition on everyone who'd entered Lily's room. Elena arrived, her face pale, when she heard the news. Mercer, he's sending another message. He wants us to know he can get to her anytime he wants. Then he just made his last mistake. Marcus pulled out his phone and called Tank. Get Sarah Chen here tomorrow. I don't care what you have to do. And tell Elena to send you the encryption keys for those records. We're going to war. Detective Morgan appeared at the end of the hallway, flanked by two uniformed officers. He looked scared and angry in equal measure. Hale, what the hell is going on? I've got reports of armed bikers on every floor. This is a hospital, not a military base. Someone just tried to murder my daughter. Someone who walked right past your police protection like it didn't exist. So yeah, my brothers are here now, and they're not leaving it until I say so. You can't just take over a hospital. Watch me. Morgan's hand moved toward his weapon, and suddenly 20 bikers had guns trained on him. The detective froze, realizing how badly he was outnumbered. Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to something deadly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk out of here and tell your chief that the Hells Angels are providing security for a victim of attempted murder. You're going to review that security footage and find out who poisoned my daughter. And you're going to stay the hell out of my way while I handle Donovan Mercer. Do we understand each other? Morgan's jaw worked, but he nodded. This isn't over. You're right, it's not. But when it is, Mercer's going to be the one bleeding, not us. The police retreated. The bikers remained. And for the first time in days, Marcus felt like they had control of something, even if it was just one hospital floor. Dizzy burst out of a nearby conference room, laptop in hand. I got him. The guy who poisoned Lily. Hospital orderly named Robert Kimmel, but that's not his real name. Ran his face through international databases. He's actually Dmitry Volkov, former Russian Spetsnaz. He's on Interpol's watch list for 6 assassinations in Eastern Europe. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. Where is he now? That's the thing, he disappeared 20 minutes after Lily crashed. Just walked out in the chaos. But I pulled his phone records. He made a call right before he left. Want to guess who he called? Mercer. Close. He called Viktor Kozlov, the guy who beat Lily in the first place. And I tracked Kozlov's location. He's at a private airfield 30 miles outside of town. Looks like they're both planning to fly out tonight. Tank cracked his knuckles. Then we go get them. Not we, Marcus's voice was cold final. Me, this is personal now. Brother, you can't go alone. I'm not asking permission. Those 2 bastards hurt my daughter. They tried to kill her. I'm going to make them understand what that means. Elena grabbed his arm. Marcus, if you do this, if you go after them yourself, you're giving Mercer exactly what he wants. He'll use it against you, paint you as the villain, and all those records won't matter because you'll be in prison or dead. I don't care. Well, I do, and Lily does. She needs her father alive, not rotting in jail for murder. Marcus pulled free, but Elena's words hit home. She was right, losing his temper now would destroy everything. But the rage burning through him demanded blood, demanded justice for what they'd done to his little girl. Tank stepped between them. There's another way. We grab them, bring them here, make them tell us everything they know about Mercer's operation. Then we have leverage. And if they don't talk, Tank's smile was cold. Oh, they'll talk. I guarantee it. An hour later, Marcus led a team of 12 bikers out to the airfield. They moved in darkness, engines off coasting on momentum until they were close enough to see the private jet sitting on the tarmac. Two figures stood near it, loading bags. Kozlov and Volkov. Marcus's hand signals sent his brothers spreading out in formation. They'd done this 100 times before, back when the club ran operations that blurred the line between legal and lethal. The muscle memory returned like riding a bike. On Marcus's mark, they moved as one. Kozlov saw them first going for his weapon, but Gunnar was faster. A single shot to the shoulder sent the Russian spinning. Volkov tried to run, but Tank tackled him, driving him into the concrete with bone-crushing force. 3 minutes. That's all it took to subdue both men, zip-tie their hands, and load them into a waiting van. No shots fired after Gunnar's warning blast. No casualties. Clean, professional, efficient. They brought the Russians to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Marcus had been here once before, years ago, when the club needed to have a conversation with someone who had stolen from them. The memory made his skin crawl, but tonight he pushed those feelings aside. Kozlov and Volkov were tied to chairs, both bleeding but conscious. Marcus stood in front of them, Tank and Gunnar flanking him. Here's how this works, Marcus said quietly. You're going to tell me everything about Mercer's operation. Where he keeps his money, who he works with, where he's vulnerable. You're going to tell me why he sent you after my daughter and what he's planning next. And you're going to do it quickly because my patients died when I saw my little girl in that hospital bed. Kozlov spat blood. Go to hell. Marcus nodded to Gunnar, who stepped forward and broke Kozlov's left pinky with a pair of pliers. The Russian screamed. 9 fingers left on that hand. Want to try again. You're dead, Kozlov gasped. Mercer will kill you and everyone you love. He already tried that. Didn't work. Now talk. Another finger broke. More screaming. Volkov watched his face pale as Kozlov's resistance crumbled. Okay, I'll talk. Kozlov's accent was thick through the pain. Mercer has shipment coming in 3 days. Biggest one yet. 50 girls from Eastern Europe coming through Port of Seattle. He's got customs agents paid off, warehouse ready. Worth $20 million on the black market. Marcus felt sick. Where's the warehouse? Kozlov gave an address. Dizzy was already on his laptop pulling up satellite imagery. He's not lying. That address belongs to a Mercer shell company. Large warehouse near the docks, perfect for trafficking operations. What else? Mercer knows about the reporter, Volkov said suddenly, his voice shaking. He knows you're trying to expose him. He has people watching her, waiting to move if she comes to you. Marcus's blood ran cold. When? Tomorrow. He's planning to take her before she can meet with you. Make it look like accident. Car crash, probably. Tank pulled out his phone. I'll warn her. Get her into protective custody. Won't help, Kozlov laughed bitterly. Mercer owns half the cops in Seattle. She's dead already. You're all dead. You just don't know it yet. Marcus grabbed Kozlov by the throat. Where is Mercer right now? Where does he live? Where does he work? Where does he hide when shit goes bad? Multiple locations. Penthouse in Seattle Estate, in the mountains, safe houses in 3 states. You'll never find him before he finds you. Marcus squeezed harder. Give me one location, any location. Or I swear to God I'll make what Gunnar did to your fingers look like a mercy. Kozlov's eyes bulged. The estate, he's at the estate tonight. Some kind of meeting with his distributors. Security will be heavy, but he's there. Marcus released him, letting the Russian gasp for air. He turned to Tank. How many brothers do we have ready to roll? Maybe 200 if we pull from all the nearby chapters. Why, Byron? Because we're going to Mercer's estate tonight. We're going to interrupt his little meeting, grab him, and end this once and for all. Elena's voice came from the warehouse entrance. She'd followed them against orders. Marcus, that's insane. You said security would be heavy. You'll be outnumbered, outgunned. I don't care. Every minute we wait, more people die. More girls get trafficked. More brothers get killed. This ends tonight. Then I'm coming with you. The hell you are. Elena stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Those girls in that ship meant I was almost one of them. Before I worked for Mercer, before I escaped, I was trafficked from Romania when I was 17. That's how Mercer found me. I was working in one of his clubs, saw the books, realized what was happening. That's why I kept the records. That's why I've been running all these years. So yes, I'm coming. I'm going to look Mercer in the eye and watch him burn. Marcus had never known. In all their years together, Elena had never told him about her past. The revelation shifted something inside him, made him see her flight 15 years ago in a different light. All right, he said quietly, but you stay behind our line. If things go wrong, we all die together. I'd rather that than spend another day running. Tank was already on the phone calling in every brother within 100 miles. Dizzy was pulling up blueprints of Mercer's estate, mapping out entry points and guard stations. Gunnar was distributing weapons from a cache hidden in the warehouse. Marcus looked at his watch. 11 p.m. They could be at the estate by 1 a.m. Hit it, while Mercer and his people were comfortable, complacent. His phone buzzed, a text from Razor. Lily's asking for you. She's scared, needs to hear your voice. Marcus stepped outside and called the hospital. Razor put him through to Lily's room. Dad. His daughter's voice was weak but alert. I'm here, baby. Where are you? What's happening? The nurses won't tell me anything. Marcus closed his eyes. He couldn't tell her the truth that he was about to lead 300 bikers in an assault on a fortified estate to kidnap a criminal kingpin. That her mother was alive and standing 20 feet away. That everything Lily had ever known was built on lies and violence. I'm handling some things. But you're safe now. Nobody's going to hurt you again. I heard them talking. The nurses. They said someone tried to poison me. Is that true? We caught him. He can't touch you now. Dad, I'm scared. Marcus's heart broke. I know, sweetheart, but I promise you by tomorrow this will all be over. And then we can be a family again. All three of us. 3 of us. Marcus looked at Elena, who was watching him with tears streaming down her face. Yeah, baby, your mom's alive, and she's been protecting us all this time. You're going to see her soon. I promise. Lily was crying now. Really, Mom's really alive. Really. And she loves you so much. She never stopped loving you. Bring her home, Dad. Please, bring her home. I will. I love you, Lily. I love you too. The line went dead. Marcus stood there, phone in hand, trying to remember how to breathe. Tank appeared beside him. We're ready. 230 brothers, armed and angry. Every charter between here and Canada sent someone. We've got enough firepower to fight a small war. Then let's go fight one. The convoy rolled out at midnight, 300 motorcycles strong, stretching down the highway like a mechanical serpent. At the head, Marcus rode with Elena behind him, her arms wrapped tight around his waist. On either side, Tank and Gunnar kept pace, their faces grim and determined. They were breaking every law, risking everything, betting their lives on one desperate play. But as Marcus felt Elena's heartbeat against his back and thought about Lily lying in that hospital bed, he knew there was no other choice. This ended tonight, one way or another. Mercer's estate appeared through the trees like something out of a nightmare. All stone and iron spotlights cutting through the darkness, guards patrolling the perimeter. From their position on the ridge above, Marcus counted at least 20 guards visible, probably more inside. Dizzy had hacked the estate's security system, giving them a live feed of the interior. In a large meeting room on the first floor, Donovan Mercer sat at the head of a table surrounded by a dozen men. Distributors, traffickers, criminals of every variety, all there to plan their next moves. How do we want to play this? Tank asked. Marcus studied the layout, his mind racing through scenarios. Front assault would be suicide, so they needed something smarter, something unexpected. We go loud, he said finally. Draw the guards to the front gate, breach the back simultaneously. Half our force creates chaos, the other half gets to Mercer. Fast and hard. We're in and out in 10 minutes. And if we can't get to him in 10 minutes, Marcus's smile was cold, then we burn the whole place down. The assault began at 1:47 a.m. with Tank driving a stolen delivery truck straight through Mercer's front gate. The explosion of metal and concrete triggered every alarm on the property guards, scrambling toward the breach exactly as Marcus had planned. While the front erupted in chaos, Marcus led 50 bikers through the back entrance, cutting through the fence with bolt cutters. They moved like shadows weapons, ready, adrenaline pumping. Elena stayed close to Marcus, her breathing steady despite the danger. She'd done this before he realized. She'd survived worse. Gunfire erupted from the front. Tank's crew was engaged, drawing more guards away from the main house. Marcus's team hit the back door, simultaneously breaching it with a battering ram. They poured inside, moving room to room with military precision. A guard appeared from a side hallway. Gunner dropped him with a single shot. Another came from behind. Marcus spun, fired twice, kept moving. There was no time for hesitation, no room for mercy. These men worked for a monster who trafficked children. They'd made their choices. Second floor. Dizzy's voice crackled through their earpieces. Mercer's moving. He's heading for a panic room behind the library. Marcus took the stairs, 3 at a time, Elena and 5 brothers right behind him. They burst into the library just as a hidden door was closing. Marcus dove through the gap, rolling into a narrow corridor. Elena followed, then Tank, then Gunner. The panic room door was ahead, solid steel, already sealing shut. Marcus could see Mercer's face through the closing gap, older than Marcus remembered, gray-haired. But those cold eyes were exactly the same. "You're too late, Hale." Mercer's voice was muffled but triumphant. "This room is impenetrable, and the police are already on their way." Tank pulled out a shaped charge from his pack. "Dizzy said this door has a weakness in the hydraulics. Give me 30 seconds. "We don't have 30 seconds. Gunner was watching the corridor. "More guards coming." Tank worked frantically, placing the charge at the door's base. 20 seconds. Gunfire erupted behind them. Guards had found their position. The brothers returned fire, the narrow corridor amplifying every shot to deafening levels. Marcus could smell cordite and blood and his own fear. 10 seconds. A brother named Snake went down, shot through the chest. Another dice took 3 rounds to the leg and kept firing. The guards kept coming, wave after wave, and Marcus realized they were trapped. If they didn't breach this door in the next minute, they were all dead. Fire in the hole. Tank's charge detonated with a sound like the world ending. The steel door buckled, hydraulics screaming, but didn't fully give way. Through the smoke, Marcus could see it hanging at an angle gap, just wide enough for someone to squeeze through. He didn't think, he just moved. Diving through the opening, scraping his shoulders raw against twisted metal, rolling into the panic room with his weapon raised. Mercer stood at the far end, gun in hand, pointing directly at Marcus's face. "Hello, Marcus. It's been a long time." "Not long enough. Where's Elena? I know she's with you. I could always count on her sentimentality." "Did she tell you about our arrangement, about how she came to work for me?" Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. "She told me enough. You trafficked her, exploited her, threatened her into silence." Mercer laughed. "Trafficked? Is that what she said?" "Elena came to me willingly, Marcus. She worked for me for 5 years before she ever met you. She knew exactly what I did, and she helped me do it." "You're lying." Ask her yourself. Ask her about the accounts she kept, the transactions she approved, the girls whose paperwork she processed. She was part of this operation, Marcus. She only tried to run when she developed a conscience. Bit late for redemption, wouldn't you say? Elena's voice came from the corridor. "He's telling the truth." Marcus turned. Elena was squeezing through the gap in the door, her face ashen but resolved. She kept her eyes on Mercer, not Marcus. "I did work for him. I knew what he was doing. I told myself I didn't have a choice, that I was a victim too. But that was a lie. I had choices. I just didn't make them until it was almost too late." "Elena, let me finish." She finally looked at Marcus, tears streaming down her face. "When I met you, you were this bright, fierce thing. You believed in loyalty and brotherhood and protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. And I fell in love with you, and for the first time in my life, I wanted to be better than what I was. So I started keeping records, copying files, building a case against Mercer. I thought if I could bring him down, I could atone for what I'd done." Mercer's gun tracked to Elena, "And instead you painted a target on everyone you loved. That baby girl of yours, what was her name? Lily? She's beautiful, Elena. Be ashamed if something happened to her." Marcus fired without thinking. The bullet caught Mercer in the shoulder, spinning him around. His gun clattered to the floor. Marcus was on him in seconds, driving him against the wall, forearm pressed to his throat. You don't get to say her name. You don't even get to think about her. Mercer gasped for air, blood seeping through his shirt, but he was still smiling. Kill me, Marcus. Please. Because the moment you do, my entire organization comes down on you and your family. I've got insurance policies you can't imagine. Dead man switches contingencies. You think you've won, you've just signed your daughter's death warrant. Marcus's arm trembled. Every instinct screamed at him to crush Mercer's throat, to watch the light leave his eyes. But Elena's hand touched his back. Don't. He's not worth it. And he's not worth losing everything we've fought for. Marcus stepped back, letting Mercer slump to the floor. Tank was through the gap now, along with Gunner and 3 more brothers. They had zip ties out securing Mercer before he could try anything else. We need to move, Tank said. Police are 5 minutes out, maybe less. They dragged Mercer through the corridor, through the library, down the stairs. The house was in chaos, guards surrendering brothers, rounding them up, fires burning in several rooms from Tank's assault. The whole operation had taken 8 minutes. Outside the parking lot was a war zone. 6 guards lay dead or wounded. 3 brothers were being loaded into vehicles, bleeding but alive. The rest of the club was mounting up engines, roaring to life. Marcus threw Mercer into the back of a van. You're coming with us, and you're going to tell us everything about your operation, the shipment, the warehouse, all of it. Or what? You'll torture me, kill me. I've survived worse than you, Hale. Elena climbed into the van, pulled out a phone, and started recording. Start talking, Donovan. Tell them about the girls, about the warehouse, about the cops you own, or I release these files to every major news outlet in the country. Your choice. Mercer's confidence flickered. You wouldn't. Those files implicate you, too. I don't care anymore. I'm done running. I'm done being scared. So either you help us stop that shipment and save those girls, or I make sure the whole world knows exactly what kind of monster you are, including your wife, your children, your investors, everyone. The silence stretched. Finally, Mercer laughed, the sound broken and bitter. The shipment arrives tomorrow night at Pier 47. Container ship from Danzig. 50 girls ages 14 to 22. My people will offload them at midnight, transport them to the warehouse. By dawn, they'll be scattered across 6 states. Who's your contact at the port? Captain Richard Chen, customs supervisor. I've been paying him $200,000 a year for the past decade. Dizzy was already on his laptop pulling up information. Got him. Captain Chen, 15-year veteran, exemplary record. Nobody would suspect him. Marcus's mind raced. They had less than 24 hours to stop the shipment, save the girls, and take down Mercer's network. But they couldn't do it alone. They needed help from someone with actual authority, someone Mercer didn't own. Sarah Chen, he said suddenly. The reporter. Is she related to Captain Chen? Dizzy's fingers flew across the keyboard. Holy shit! Yeah, Richard Chen is her father. The pieces clicked into place. Sarah Chen had spent years investigating corruption and trafficking. Maybe she'd been chasing her own father this whole time without knowing it. And now they were about to hand her the story of a lifetime. Tank was already dialing. Sarah, it's Tank. Yeah, I know, it's 2 a.m. No, this can't wait. We've got Donovan Mercer in custody, and he just confessed to running a trafficking operation. The shipment arrives tomorrow night at Pier 47. Your father's the inside man. Sarah, I'm sorry, but Marcus couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but he saw Tank's expression shift from grim to cautiously hopeful. She's coming, Tank said when he hung up. She'll be at the hospital in 4 hours with a camera crew and her editor. But she wants proof, real actionable proof, not just Mercer's word. We've got the proof. Elena held up a thumb drive. Everything. 20 years of transactions, communications, witness statements. It's all here. The convoy started moving, lights off, racing away from Mercer's estate before the police arrived. Marcus rode in the van with Mercer and Elena, his mind churning through what came next. They had the confession, they had the evidence, they had less than 24 hours to stop 50 girls from disappearing into the nightmare of human trafficking. His phone rang. Razor. Marcus, you need to get back here now. Something's wrong with Lily. Marcus's heart stopped. What do you mean wrong? She's awake, but she's not making sense. Talking about seeing someone in her room, someone who shouldn't be here. The doctors think it's hallucinations from the medication, but Marcus, she's terrified. She won't let anyone near her except me. I'm on my way. Don't let anyone in that room except doctors you personally trust. He told Tank to drive faster. The 15-minute trip took 9. Marcus burst through the hospital doors at a dead run, taking the stairs because the elevator was too slow. Razor met him outside Lily's room, her expression grim. She's calm now, but Marcus, something's not right. She keeps saying someone was in her room, someone wearing scrubs, but when we check the security footage, there's nothing there. Marcus entered his daughter's room. Lily looked small and fragile in the hospital bed, her eyes wide with fear. When she saw him, she burst into tears. "Dad, someone was here. Someone standing by my bed watching me." I opened my eyes, and they were just there, and when I screamed, they ran. What did they look like? I don't know. It was dark, but Dad, I could feel them. Their hand was on my arm. I'm not crazy. I swear someone was here. Marcus believed her. He turned to Razor. Pull every piece of security footage from the past 3 hours. Check every entrance, every exit. Someone got in here, and I want to know how. Dizzy arrived with his laptop and started pulling feeds. Marcus sat with Lily holding her hand, trying to keep his rage in check. Mercer was in custody, beaten broken. But apparently his organization was still operational, still trying to finish what they'd started. Got something? Dizzy said suddenly. East stairwell, 2 a.m. Figure in scrubs entering. But here's the thing, they came in through a service entrance that's supposed to be locked. Someone gave them access. Can you get a face? Dizzy zoomed in, enhanced the image. The person had a surgical mask on, but their eyes were visible. Dark, cold, professional. Marcus had seen an eyes like that before on Kozlov, on Volkov, on every hired killer he'd ever encountered. They sent another one, Marcus breathed. Another assassin. But why would they run when Lily screamed? Razor asked. Why not finish the job? The answer hit Marcus like a freight train. Because they weren't here to kill her. They were here to plant something. He was out of his chair and moving before anyone could stop him, searching the room with frantic intensity. Under the bed in the bathroom behind the monitors, nothing. Then his eyes landed on Lily's IV bag. When was this bag changed last? A nurse who'd been hovering in the doorway stepped forward nervously. About an hour ago, standard procedure. Why? Marcus carefully removed the IV bag and held it up to the light. The liquid inside was clear, seemingly normal, but there was something else, a tiny puncture mark in the rubber seal, almost invisible. Dizzy, get a lab tech up here now. This bag's been tampered with. The bag was rushed to the lab. Marcus had Lily's IV removed and replaced with a fresh one from a sealed container he personally verified. They waited in tense silence until the lab tech returned, 20 minutes later, her face pale. Mr. Hale, that IV bag contained a slow-acting poison. Dosage was calculated to kill over the course of 6 to 8 hours. If your daughter had continued receiving it, Marcus didn't need her to finish. He looked at Lily, who was crying silently, understanding how close she'd come to death. Again. Who changed that bag? Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. The nurse checked her tablet. According to the records, it was Nurse Damon. He's been with us for 3 years. Good employee, never any complaints. Where is he now? I don't know. He signed out 2 hours ago, end of his shift. Dizzy was already pulling up personnel files. Got him. James Damon, age 32, lives in West Side Apartments. But Marcus, there's no record of a James Damon before 3 years ago. It's a cover identity. Find him. I don't care what you have to do. Find him. Tank appeared in the doorway. We've got another problem. Just got word from our brothers watching the warehouse near the docks. Activity, big activity. Trucks arriving, men with weapons. They're prepping for the shipment early. Marcus looked at his watch. It was only 4 a.m. The shipment wasn't supposed to arrive until midnight. Something had changed. Elena stepped into the room, her face grave. Mercer made a call. While we were transporting him here, he managed to slip a phone out of his pocket and send a text. His people know we have him. They're moving up the timeline. How the hell did he get a phone? I don't know, but the shipment's arriving early. 6 a.m. instead of midnight. We've got 2 hours. Marcus felt the weight of impossible choices crushing down on him. Stay here and protect his daughter, or go to the docks and save 50 other daughters from the same nightmare. There was no good answer, no way to be in 2 places at once. I have to go, he said finally, the words tasting like ash. I have to stop that shipment. Lily's hand tightened on his. I know. Go. Save them. Razor's here. I'll be okay. Baby girl. Dad, those girls need you more than I do right now. Go, please. Marcus kissed her forehead, his vision blurring with tears. I love you. More than anything. I love you too. Now go kick some ass. He left before he could change his mind. Tank Gunner Elena and 100 brothers were already mounting up. Sarah Chen was arriving with her camera crew ready to document everything. The sun was starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. They reached Pier 47 at 5:30 a.m. The container ship was already visible on the horizon, approaching faster than expected. Marcus could see the warehouse guards positioned around it, trucks waiting to receive cargo that should never exist. We need to hit them before the girls are unloaded, Marcus said. Once they're scattered in those trucks, we'll never find them all. Tank was coordinating with the other brothers, positioning them around the pier. We've got 200 brothers in position. Sarah Chen set up across the street with zoom lenses. She'll capture everything. What about Mercer? Still in custody with a dozen brothers watching him. He's not going anywhere. The ship was docking now. Marcus could see crew moving on deck preparing to offload. His phone buzzed with a text from Dizzy. James Damon spotted at the pier, east side near the guard shack. The assassin who tried to poison Lily was here. Of course he was. Mercer's whole organization was converging for this final play. Change of plans, Marcus said. I'm going after Damon. Tank, you lead the assault on the warehouse. Wait until the container's offloaded, then hit them hard. We need those girls alive. Marcus, you can't go after him alone. I'm not asking. That bastard tried to kill my daughter twice. This is personal. Elena grabbed his arm. Then I'm coming with you. You'll need backup, and I know these operations. I know how Mercer's people think. There was no time to argue. Marcus nodded and they split from the main group, circling toward the east side of the pier. The guard shack was a small building near the water used for port security. Marcus could see a figure inside moving behind dirty windows. They approached from opposite sides, weapons ready. Marcus counted down on his fingers 3, 2, 1, and they breached simultaneously. James Damon spun gun already coming up, but Elena was faster. Her shot caught him in the hand, sending his weapon flying. Marcus was on him before he could react, driving him against the wall. You tried to kill my daughter. Damon's face was calm, professional. Just doing my job. Marcus's fist connected with his jaw, snapping his head sideways. Your job is murdering teenagers. She was a loose end. Mercer pays well to tie up loose ends. Another punch. Damon's nose broke with a crunch. Blood poured down his face, but he was still smiling. You think this matters? You think stopping one shipment changes anything? There'll be another next week and another after that. You can't stop it all, Hale. The demand's too high, the profit's too good. You're just pissing in the wind. Elena pressed her gun to Damon's temple. Tell us about the shipment. How many guards? What's the plan for distribution? Shoot me. I'm dead either way if I talk. Then you might as well talk. At least that way you die knowing you did one decent thing in your miserable life. Something in Elena's voice made Damon's confidence flicker. He looked at her, really looked, and recognition dawned in his eyes. I know you. You're the accountant, the one who ran. Mercer's been looking for you for 15 years. And now he's found me, and tomorrow his entire empire burns. So talk or die for nothing. Damon laughed, the sound wet and broken. 30 guards, automatic weapons. They've got orders to kill anyone who interferes. The girls stay in the container until the trucks are loaded. Then they're split up, 10 to Seattle, 10 to Portland, 10 to San Francisco, 20 to distribution centers across the Midwest. By noon, they'll be gone. Vanished. Explosions rocked the pier. Tank's assault had begun. Marcus could hear gunfire, shouting chaos erupting across the waterfront. He turned to Elena. Stay with him. Make sure he doesn't warn anyone. Where are you going? To help my brothers. Marcus ran toward the sound of battle. The warehouse was under siege, bikers pouring in from all sides, while guards returned fire. The container was already off the ship, sitting on the dock, doors still sealed. Marcus could hear screaming from inside, the girls terrified, not understanding what was happening. A guard appeared from behind a shipping crate, raising his rifle. Marcus fired first, twice to the chest. The man went down. Another came from the left. Tank dropped him with a shotgun blast. We need to get that container open, Marcus shouted over the gunfire. Gunner was already working on the lock with bolt cutters. The mechanism gave way with a shriek of metal and the door swung open. The smell hit first human waste, fear, desperation. Then Marcus saw them. 50 girls, ages ranging from barely teenagers to young women, huddled together in the darkness. They were dirty, terrified, some injured. When they saw the armed men outside, they screamed and tried to push further back into the container. Marcus lowered his weapon, raised his hands. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help. Does anyone speak English? A girl near the front, maybe 19, with dark hair and defiant eyes, stepped forward. I speak English. Who are you? My name's Marcus Hale. These are my brothers. We're taking you out of here, getting you to safety, but we need you to trust us. Why should we trust you? You have guns. You're fighting. How do we know you're not just different traffickers? It was a fair question. Marcus holstered his weapon and pulled out his phone, showing her a picture of Lily. See that girl? That's my daughter. The men who did this to you, they hurt her too. So yeah, we have guns, and yeah, we're fighting. But we're fighting for you, to get you home, to stop these bastards from ever doing this again. The girl studied the photo, then Marcus's face. Whatever she saw there made her decision for her. She turned to the other girls and spoke rapidly in what sounded like Polish. Slowly, hesitantly, they started emerging from the container. Sarah Chen's camera crew was capturing everything: the girls, the guns, the chaos. Marcus saw her interviewing one of Mercer's guards who'd been captured. This was going out live or close to it. The whole world was about to see what Donovan Mercer really was. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Detective Morgan was probably leading the charge, finally forced to acknowledge what was happening. Marcus didn't care. Let them come. They had the girls, they had the evidence, they had everything they needed. Elena appeared beside him, her face streaked with tears. They're so young, God. Marcus, some of them are Lily's age. I know, but they're safe now. That's what matters. Tank was coordinating with the other brothers, getting the girls into vehicles, preparing to transport them to the hospital. Medical attention first, then sorting out immigration and repatriation. It would be a nightmare of paperwork and bureaucracy, but they'd save them. That's what counted. A gunshot cracked from the warehouse. Marcus spun to see one of Mercer's guards making a last-stand weapon raise, pointing directly at the container where girls were still emerging. Marcus didn't hesitate. His shot was perfect, dropping the man before he could fire. But the guard's finger had already been tightening on the trigger. The bullet went wild, ricocheting off metal, and Marcus heard someone scream. Elena! She was on the ground, hand pressed to her side, blood seeping between her fingers. Marcus was beside her in seconds, pressing his own hands over hers, trying to stop the bleeding. No, no, no. Elena, stay with me. Medic, I need a medic now. Tank was already calling for an ambulance. Elena's face was pale, her breathing shallow. Marcus, she gasped. The girls, make sure they're okay. Make sure they get home. You're going to be fine. You're going to help me make sure of that. Just hold on. Tell Lily, she coughed, blood on her lips. Tell her I'm sorry for everything, for leaving. Tell her I love her. You'll tell her yourself. You're not dying. I won't let you. But even as he said it, Marcus could feel her life draining away beneath his hands. The ambulance was coming. He could hear the sirens, but he knew in his gut it wouldn't be fast enough. Elena's hand touched his face. You're a good man, Marcus Hale. You always were. I should have trusted you 15 years ago. Should have let you fight beside me instead of running. Maybe things would have been different. Stop talking. Save your strength. Promise me. Promise me you'll take care of her. Keep her safe. Don't let this world break her like it broke us. I promise, but you're going to be there too. We're going to be a family again. All three of us, like it should have been. Elena smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like the woman Marcus had fallen in love with all those years ago. Young, fierce, full of hope. Then the light went out of her eyes and she was gone. Marcus held her as the sun rose over the pier, as chaos raged around him, as 50 saved girls watched the man who'd rescued them break apart over a woman they'd never met. He held her and he howled his rage and grief at the uncaring sky, and somewhere in that moment, something inside him died too. Tank's hand on his shoulder finally brought him back. Marcus, the ambulance is here. We need to let them. She's gone. I know, brother, but we need to move. Police are here. We need to get our story straight. Marcus carefully laid Elena down, closing her eyes. He stood, his hands covered in her blood, and faced Detective Morgan, who was approaching with a dozen officers. Marcus Hale, you're under arrest for... Shut up! Marcus's voice was dead flat. And we just saved 50 girls from human trafficking. Your Captain Chen was on Mercer's payroll. Sarah Chen over there has everything on camera. So you can arrest me if you want, but I guarantee by the time we get to the station, you'll be the one answering questions. Morgan hesitated, looking at the girls at the warehouse at Sarah Chen's camera crew documenting everything. His radio crackled with orders from his chief, and Marcus saw the moment the detective realized he was on the wrong side of history. Get those girls medical attention, Morgan said finally, and someone get me a statement from every witness. This is going to be the biggest case this city's ever seen. Marcus walked away without responding. He found his bike, climbed on, and rode. He didn't know where he was going, didn't care. He just needed to move, needed the wind and the engine noise to drown out the sound of Elena's last breath. He ended up at the hospital. Where else could he go? Lily was there waiting for him, needing him. He walked through the doors covered in blood, and the staff's expressions told him he looked like death itself. Razor met him at the elevator. Marcus, what happened? Where is Elena? He couldn't say it, couldn't form the words, just shook his head and kept walking. Lily knew the moment she saw him. She read it in his eyes, in the way he carried himself, in the blood on his hands. Her scream echoed through the entire floor. Marcus held his daughter while she fell apart, while she cried for the mother she just found and lost in the span of 2 days. He held her and made promises he didn't know if he could keep about justice and healing and how things would get better. But in that moment, with his daughter's tears soaking through his shirt and his wife's blood drying on his hands, Marcus couldn't believe any of it. They'd won the battle. They'd saved the girls exposed. Mercer dismantled a trafficking empire. But the cost had been everything. And sitting in that hospital room, Marcus finally understood what Elena had known 15 years ago. Some victories aren't worth the price you pay for them. 3 days passed like a blur of funeral arrangements and police statements. Marcus moved through it all like a ghost, answering questions, mechanically signing documents without reading them. The only thing that kept him anchored was Lily's hand in his, her quiet strength, when his own had completely shattered. The media circus was relentless. Sarah Chen's footage had gone viral within hours. 50 trafficked girls rescued, a major criminal empire exposed, a corrupt port official arrested. The story dominated every news cycle. Marcus's face was everywhere, painted as either a hero or a vigilante, depending on who was telling the story. He didn't care about any of it. Elena's funeral was held on a gray Thursday morning. The sky threatened rain but never delivered, as if even the weather couldn't commit to anything. Marcus stood at the graveside holding Lily, who was still too weak to stand on her own for long. Her ribs were healing, the swelling on her face had gone down, but the real damage was deeper and visible. Tank and the brothers formed a wall around them, 300 leather-clad bikers paying respects to a woman most of them had never met. But she was family, and family meant everything. The priest said words Marcus didn't hear. Lily cried silent tears, and when it was time to lower the casket, Marcus felt something break loose inside him that he knew would never fully heal. Afterward, at the hospital where Lily was still recovering, Detective Morgan appeared with news that should have felt like victory, but just felt hollow. Donovan Mercer's been formally charged with 53 counts of human trafficking, 12 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, and about 100 other charges. The DA says it's the biggest case they have ever prosecuted. With the evidence you provided and the testimony from the girls you saved, he'll die in prison. Marcus barely looked up. Good. Captain Chen, the port supervisor, he's cooperating, giving up names, accounts, connections. We've already made 17 arrests across 3 states. The FBI is involved now. This thing's bigger than we thought. I know how big it is. I lived it. Morgan shifted uncomfortably. There's something else. About the night at Mercer's estate, the property damage, the assault, the kidnapping. The DA is willing to overlook most of it, given the circumstances. But Marcus, you and your club crossed a lot of lines. There are people pushing for charges. Let them push. You don't understand. Some powerful people are embarrassed by this. Mercer had connections to politicians, judges, businessmen. They want this story to go away, and the easiest way to do that is make you the villain. Tank stepped forward. Try it. We've got Sarah Chen on speed dial, and she'd love to do a follow-up about how the system protects traffickers and prosecutes the people who stop them. Morgan raised his hands. I'm not the enemy here. I'm trying to help. But you need to be smart about this. Keep your heads down, let the legal process work. Don't give them ammunition. Marcus finally looked at him. My wife is dead. My daughter almost died twice. 3 of my brothers are in the ground because they tried to help me. So forgive me if I don't give a damn about being smart or keeping my head down. We did what needed doing. If that makes me a criminal, then I guess I'm a criminal. Morgan left without another word. Lily squeezed Marcus's hand. Dad, he's right. We need to be careful. I can't lose you too. You won't, I promise. But even as he said it, Marcus felt the weight of everything pressing down on him. The violence, the loss, the impossible choices. He'd spent 15 years trying to be better than the man who wore the Hells Angels patch, and in the end, he'd become exactly what he'd tried to escape. Razor appeared in his doorway. Marcus, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important. In the waiting room, a woman stood looking out the window. She was in her early 20s, dark hair, the same defiant eyes Marcus remembered from the shipping container. The girl who translated for the others, who trusted him when she had no reason to. I remember you, Marcus said. My name is Katya. Her English was heavily accented but clear. I wanted to thank you for saving us, for risking everything. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You lost someone. The woman at the pier. I saw her fall. I'm sorry. Marcus's throat tightened. She would have wanted me to save you. All of you. It's what she'd been trying to do for 15 years. Katya nodded, tears in her eyes. The other girls we talked. We want to testify against Mercer. Whatever it takes to make sure he never hurts anyone again. Will you help us? You don't have to do that. The evidence is enough. No, we need to. We need to tell our stories to make people understand what happens to girls like us. We need to be more than just victims. Please. Marcus looked at this young woman who'd survived hell and was still standing, still fighting. He saw Elena in her, that same fierce determination to make something good come from something terrible. All right, I'll help you, whatever you need. Katya smiled, and for the first time since Elena died, Marcus felt something other than grief. Purpose, maybe? Or redemption? He wasn't sure which. Over the next week, Marcus coordinated with Sarah Chen in the DA's office, helping prepare the girls' testimony. Most of them were being held in protective custody while their immigration status was sorted out. Many wanted to go home. Others, like Katya, had nothing to go back to and were seeking asylum. The legal system moved slowly, but public pressure kept the case in the spotlight. Mercer's empire was crumbling, assets frozen, associates arrested, operations shut down across 6 states. The FBI had taken over the investigation, and they were building a case that would put dozens of people behind bars for decades. But Marcus knew the truth. They'd cut off one head of the Hydra. Somewhere else, someone else was already filling the void Mercer left behind. The demand hadn't changed. The profits were still there. They'd won a battle, but the war was far from over. Lily was released from the hospital on a Tuesday afternoon. Marcus wheeled her out to where Tank was waiting with his truck, the club forming an honor guard on either side. She'd be staying with Marcus for the foreseeable future, and he'd already converted his garage office into a bedroom for her. You ready to come home? Marcus asked. Lily looked around at the bikers, at the hospital where she'd almost died twice, at the world that had revealed itself to be far darker and more dangerous than she'd ever imagined. Is anywhere really home after all this? We'll make it home. Together. At the house, Marcus carried Lily's bags inside, while Tank and Gunnar brought in groceries and supplies. The place felt empty without Elena, even though she'd never lived here. Her absence was a presence all its own. That night, Marcus made dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and sauce, and he and Lily ate in silence. The television was on, but neither of them was watching it. Finally, Lily set down her fork. I keep thinking about what Mom said, about running to protect us, about making choices she could live with. Lily's voice was small. Do you think she regretted it, leaving us? Every single day. But she thought it was the right choice, and maybe it was. We survived, didn't we? We're here. But at what cost? She lost 15 years with us. I grew up without a mother. You raised me alone. Was it worth it? Marcus didn't have an answer. He'd been asking himself the same question since Elena died in his arms. I don't know, baby girl. I don't know if any of this was worth it. Lily reached across the table and took his hand. She loved us. That's what matters. She loved us enough to give up everything. Yeah, she did. The trial began 3 months later. Marcus sat in the courtroom every day watching as witness after witness testified against Mercer. The girls Katya and 19 others who'd agreed to testify told their stories with heartbreaking clarity. Mercer's associates turned on him one by one, trying to save themselves. The evidence was overwhelming. Mercer sat at the defense table looking smaller than Marcus remembered. Diminished by the weight of his crimes, his expensive lawyers fought hard, but there was no defense against the truth. On the fourth day of testimony, the prosecution called Marcus to the stand. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Linda Martinez, walked him through the events leading up to the rescue. Mr. Hale, can you tell the court why you and your club got involved in this case? They hurt my daughter, tried to kill her to send me a message. I wasn't going to let that stand. And when you learned about the trafficking operation, I knew we had to stop it. Those girls, they were somebody's daughters. They deserve better than what Mercer had planned for them. Did you consider going to the police? Marcus glanced at Detective Morgan, who was sitting in the back row. We did go to the police. They were too slow, too compromised. By the time they would have acted, those girls would have disappeared. So we handled it ourselves. By assaulting Mr. Mercer's estate, kidnapping him, and engaging in a firefight at the pier that left multiple people dead. By doing what needed to be done, yes. The defense attorney objected, but the damage was done. Marcus had admitted to everything, and he didn't care. Let them come after him. At least he could sleep at night knowing he'd saved 50 lives. Mercer's lawyer tried to paint Marcus as a violent criminal, a gang member who'd used the trafficking investigation as cover for a personal vendetta. Some of it was even true. But when the defense tried to suggest the whole thing had been fabricated, Katya stood up from the gallery. You want to know what's fabricated my life before these men saved me? I was told I'd be working in a restaurant. Instead, I was locked in a basement and sold to men who didn't care that I was screaming. So don't you dare call this man a criminal. He's the only reason I'm alive to tell you this. The judge gavelled for order, but the moment had shifted something in the courtroom. This wasn't about motorcycle clubs or vigilante justice anymore. It was about right and wrong, and everyone could see which side Mercer was on. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus watched as Mercer was led away in handcuffs and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sense of justice served, just emptiness where Elena should have been. Outside the courthouse, Sarah Chen was waiting with her camera crew. She'd won a second Pulitzer for her coverage of the case, and rumors said she was writing a book. Marcus, can we get a statement? What do you want me to say? Bad guys going to prison. Girls are safe. Story's over. But it's not over, is it? The trafficking networks are still out there. Mercer's organization is gone, but others will take its place. Marcus looked at her, this reporter who'd risked everything to expose the truth. You're right, it's not over. It'll never be over as long as there's money in selling human beings. But today, right now, 50 girls are safe. That's enough. What's next for you in the club? We go back to our lives, try to remember what normal looks like. But Marcus knew that was a lie. Nothing would ever be normal again. 6 months after the trial, Marcus stood in front of a new storefront in downtown. The sign above the door read, Elena's Place Support Services for Trafficking Survivors. Lily stood beside him, still using a cane, but getting stronger every day. Tank and the club had helped renovate the building, and Katya had agreed to work there, helping other survivors navigate the system that had failed so many. Mom would have loved this, Lily said quietly. Yeah, she would have. The opening was small, just Lily, Marcus, the club, and a handful of the girls they'd saved. No press, no politicians, no fanfare. Just people trying to do something good in a world that desperately needed it. Katya cut the ribbon and everyone applauded. Inside the walls were painted bright colors, comfortable furniture, arranged to feel safe rather than institutional. It was everything Elena had fought for, everything she'd died trying to protect. That night, Marcus and Lily visited Elena's grave. They brought flowers, stood in silence for a while. The grief was still there, would always be there, but it had evolved into something they could carry. I'm going back to school next semester, Lily said. Social work. I want to help people like Mom tried to help them. Marcus felt his heart swell with pride and terror. Are you sure, after everything that happened? Especially after everything that happened. Dad, I could have died, but I didn't. So I need to make it count. I need to do something that matters. You're 19 years old. You don't have to save the world. Neither did you, but you did it anyway. She smiled, and Marcus saw Elena in every line of her face. We're fighters, Dad. It's in our blood. Mom fought by running, by protecting us from the shadows. You fought by facing everything head on. I'm going to fight by helping people pick up the pieces after. Marcus pulled his daughter close to this fierce young woman who'd survived hell and come out stronger. Your mother would be so proud of you. She'd be proud of both of us. They stood there as the sun set, casting long shadows across the grass. 300 miles away, the Hells Angels were rolling out on a charity run, raising money for trafficking victims. In Seattle, Sarah Chen was finishing her book, making sure the world would never forget what happened. And in a courthouse in Portland, Donovan Mercer was beginning his life sentence knowing he'd lost everything. The cycle of violence hadn't ended. It never would. But Marcus and Lily had broken free of it, had taken something terrible and tried to make it mean something. They'd paid a price so steep it nearly destroyed them. They'd lost Elena, lost brothers, lost pieces of themselves they'd never get back. But they'd also saved 50 lives. They'd brought down an empire built on suffering. They'd proven that sometimes the only way to fight monsters is to become one yourself, and then find your way back to being human again. Marcus looked down at his daughter, saw her mother's strength shining through her, and knew that Elena's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. They were scarred, broken in places that would never fully heal. But they were standing. They were fighting. They were alive. And in the end, that was enough. Tank called later that night with news. Just got word from our contacts. Another trafficking ring operating out of Arizona. FBI's building a case, but it's moving slow. They're asking if we might be interested in providing assistance. Marcus looked at Lily, who was reading on the couch, her face peaceful in the lamplight. He thought about Elena's grave, about the brothers they'd lost, about the cost of fighting battles the system couldn't or wouldn't win. Tell them we'll think about it, Marcus said finally, because he'd learned something in the past 6 months, something Elena had understood all along. You couldn't save everyone, couldn't fix everything, couldn't undo the damage the world inflicted on innocent people, but you could save someone. You could fix something. You could make a difference, even if it was just for one person for one day. And sometimes in a world as dark as this one, that difference was everything. Marcus hung up the phone and sat beside his daughter. She looked up from her book, read something in his expression. Another call about the club. Yeah, nothing urgent. But you're thinking about it, about getting involved again. Maybe. Would that bother you? Lily closed her book and leaned against him, and Marcus was transported back to when she was small, when the world was simpler, when he thought he could protect her from everything. Mom spent 15 years running from the fight. You spent 15 years trying to leave it behind, and both of you ended up fighting anyway because that's who you are. That's who we are. She looked up at him with Elena's eyes. So no, it wouldn't bother me. As long as you promise to come home. Always. Then do what you need to do, Dad. Help the people who need helping. Just don't forget that I need you too. Marcus kissed the top of her head. Never. You're my reason for everything. They sat together in comfortable silence, father and daughter survivors of a war that most people never knew was being fought. Outside, the night was dark and full of dangers. But inside, in this moment, they were safe. They were together. They were home. And Marcus knew with the same certainty that had driven him to Elena all those months ago that whatever came next, they would face it the same way they'd faced everything else together, fierce, unbreakable. Because they were Hell's Angels family. And family meant you never fought alone, you never gave up, and you never stopped protecting the people who couldn't protect themselves. No matter what it cost, no matter how much it hurt, no matter how many times the world tried to break you. They'd lost Elena, but her legacy lived on in the center they'd built, in the lives they'd saved, in the way Lily had transformed her trauma into purpose, and Marcus had transformed his rage into redemption. The story didn't have a happy ending. Real stories never do. But it had an ending that mattered, an ending built on sacrifice and love, and the stubborn refusal to let evil win without a fight. And in the end, that was the only kind of victory that ever really counted.